everyone, and welcome to Bourbon Bites. My name is Clifton, and welcome to another Thursday night live stream. Tonight we have two brand new releases from Barrell Craft Spirits. Maybe it's thinking deja vu. I did just review two new releases from Barrell Craft Spirits a few weeks back, but these are a new Cask Finish series. So it's going to be my first time trying this. I think this is the first of the series, if I remember correctly. There's a lot of barrel products out there, and I feel like I haven't tried. I just want to try them all, but I haven't. But as far as I know, these are the first two releases of this new series. Of course, talking about the Amburana and the Tale of Two Islands. So if you're watching the replay, feel free to skip around in the stream. I'm going to put time codes down below where you can skip to your whiskey of choice. But if you're watching live, hello. Good to see some of you as well. I see some people in the chat. Whiskey Wisdom, first of all, hello, and thank you again for inviting me to your channel. If you have not checked out Whiskey Wisdom, it is a awesome live stream. He goes live on Thursday nights. Or sorry, not Thursday night, Friday nights. Sorry, think about myself again. Yeah, it's really, really great stream. Check out the replay from last week. I was actually going to pull up his link here. Let me find it. I think I had it. I'm going to drop his link tree. That'll work. But yeah, Matt reached out a few last week actually and asked me to be on his stream, and it was a lot of fun. So check out his channel. There we go. So, sorry, I didn't have that pulled up. Yeah, you can check out his YouTube channels there as well. Really fun, informative. They do some whiskey news, some fun trivia, which I didn't do as bad as I thought. Zofer was a winner on the trivia night last week, but thank you again for the invite. It was a lot of fun. Donnie and Adam in the chat, and Steven Sussman, excited for these. I enjoyed the OG Tale of Two Islands rum. I have not had it. I'm very excited to give this a try. A spoiler alert, I did have a little bit of this earlier, but wanted to get a little, get some initial notes, but I'm excited to revisit it for the live stream just to kind of share my thoughts on this one. Five Fingers in that chat. High five to you as well. Zofer, of course. I think I just gave you a shout out, but welcome back. And Tony Bag of Donuts. Great crowd tonight. So good to see so many of you hanging out. If you are new, I go live every Thursday night. We do whiskey reviews, interviews, a little bit of gaming, a little bit of 80s. It's kind of my vibe here. Speaking of which, we're going to do our monthly movie night on Patreon probably next weekend. So if you have a recommendation for a favorite 80s movie, go drop it on our Discord server. I put a link down in the description below. Always looking for suggestions. We do that for everyone $5 and up on Patreon. So get your votes in now. I want to get some suggestions for what movie we're watching this month. We've watched some really great ones lately, so I'm excited to see what you guys pull out for me tonight, or pull out for me tonight. Wow, pull out for me this month. Might as well go with it. Continue the pun. But I'm really excited to try these new releases. Curious in the chat, have you had any finished releases from Barrell outside of course, like the Seagrass, shoot. What are all of them? There's the Seagrass, there's the Vantage, I think. I've done them all on the channel. It's been a while. But I know they do a bunch of single barrel selects and they do some really unique finishes. So I'm curious, what is some of your favorite finishes you've tried from Barrell? I have not had a single barrel from there yet, like a store pick, but I'm really excited to see how these do. Because I imagine these are probably going to be some of their options for Seagrass Vantage Dovetail. That was the one I was forgetting. There's also another one. There's the Armida, I think. So I'm curious to hear what single cask you guys have had and what you've had it finished in. What's up, Emily? Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in, right? I was a little bit late tonight, so we'll keep it moving. We're going to start with the first one. This is the Amburana Cask, which I've actually been seeing pop up a lot lately. I've reviewed other whiskeys that are Amburana Cask. Most of them, I think I've had some bourbons. I've had some, of course, some single malts that are Amburana as well. But this is the Barrell Bourbon Amburana Cask, 5-year-old, 116.42 proof. This is a blend of American bourbons from Kentucky and Indiana. So there's no Tennessee in this one. And if you remember from some of my other streams, Amburana is a very difficult cask to work with. It's basically a Brazilian oak. It's been avoided for a long time for a reason. Also, if you use it as like a primary cask, it just completely overpowers the whiskey. It's known to give a lot of really good like cinnamon notes. I remember that from the last one I had. Like cinnamon sugar. Some people say like cinnamon toast crunch notes. Um, but let's see, what do they say here about it? It's known for giving a cinnamon, floral, tropical, and vanilla flavor. And it says rather than working with cubes, spirals, staves, or other oak alternatives like many producers, Barrell Craft Spirits sourced true 53-gallon casks made from sustainably harvested Amburana wood to finish this bourbon. So this is, they put it into the full 53-gallon casks. So we'll see. We'll see how it does. Like I said, this is a blend of Indiana and Kentucky bourbon. The Indiana is 5, 6, 7, and 10 years old. Kentucky is 5 years old. And mash bills overall of it all combined is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. So if you're curious about those facts, Run Rev in the chat. What's up? Good to see you again. Yeah, so this one, I'm excited. I don't know. I really enjoyed the last Amburana I had. And I'm hoping the Barrell, they're one of the best with blending. So let's see how they do. Let's give this one a nose. Ooh. Interestingly enough, the Amburana, like that note, that cinnamon sugar that I kind of expected to, to blast the palate, isn't the most dominant note. It kind of just smells like a really good, I don't want to say younger bourbon, because there's some older whiskey in here. But it kind of does remind me of, the minimum whiskey in here is 5 years old. I see that age statement a lot, especially with Indiana bourbon. That's the dominant note. That's sweeter, the corn. 75% corn. That's what I smell the most. This is a very corn forward, sweet bourbon on the nose. There is a little bit of orange to it. I was watching Deathless Dogs. They were live earlier, and they were doing a bunch of Amburana finished whiskey as well. And I think it was Cheech. Cheech was on the channel as well as Scott from Fifth Quarter Tailgate. One of them got a orange zest note on one of their whiskeys. And that's what I'm getting on the nose of this. It's very much like a zested orange peel, like you would get in an old fashioned. Yeah, but that combined with like the vanilla sweetness of the bourbon. Really excited to give this one a taste. So cheers to y'all. Thanks for tuning in. And let's try this Amburana Cask Finished Barrell Bourbon. There's the cinnamon. It wasn't on the nose, it's on the palate. It's spicy. What's the proof on this one? It's pretty high. 116.42. It drinks like that. I haven't had any bourbon yet today, so that kind of caught me off guard with the higher proof. But wow. Really balanced and rich. And that finish. It's like I don't want to like sound stereotypical, but it's got a bit of like a chocolatey cinnamon toast crunch kind of note. Like if you had chocolate, if you combine cocoa pebbles and cinnamon toast crunch, kind of has that vibe. It also has like a creaminess, like not gonna lie. I don't know if that's coming from the bourbon or the finish itself, but on first sip, that's very, very much a breakfast bourbon. Don't want to say that. It's very much a desserty bourbon. That's more like it. James Taylor, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, revisiting the nose though, that cinnamon comes out a bit more. I think it was just kind of hiding a bit behind that very intense, sweetly, or like sweeter bourbon note. But yeah, going back to it, this is nice. I really am getting that impact from that Amburana wood. It's one of the most flavorful finishes, and I think that's why it's very, you got to be very careful with it. You can't, like I said, I've spoke to another master blender, and he said you cannot keep bourbon in these casks very long. It doesn't say specifically how long this was in there, but it does say it took a full year of R&D to hone in on the right timing and conditions. So I think you got to be very, very gentle with this cask. But I think I will say the folks at Barrell, they nailed it. This is really a really good expression of what Amburana can do to a bourbon. You already got some quality bourbon in there. Like I said, 5 to 10 year old, but you're combining that sweeter corn forward bourbon with the sweet cinnamon sugar note. That's a winner. Yeah, for sure. And this is like super selfish of me, but I'm glad that it's just Indiana and Kentucky, right? Because sometimes Barrell puts in Tennessee, which nothing wrong with Tennessee whiskey, but Tennessee has a certain characteristic to it that leans a little more towards the minerally kind of note. I don't get it on a lot of their blends, especially when there's like a small amount. But sometimes they overdo it. So I'm really glad that this doesn't have any of that. Even if it had a little bit, I would be worried that that would take away from that really rich, creamy cinnamon sugar note. Because I think that mineral note could take away from that and make it seem a little bit more like an artificial sweetener. Which I've gotten that kind of note, like the stevia kind of note on a whiskey before. It's really weird, really out there, but this is really nice. It doesn't have that at all. Steven says breakfast bourbon sounds like something I need this weekend. Oh man, I've had some maple syrup barrel finished bourbon before, and it was something. I'll tell you. It was from Tom's Foolery. They're out of, I think, Ohio, if I remember correctly. That was a fun one. But yeah, that's a breakfast bourbon for you. Now those are some unique tasting notes. I think so too. Yeah, like cinnamon, cinnamon sugar, chocolate, like cereal. But not cereal in like a Scotch kind of way, not like a grainy cereal, more of like just like a American breakfast cereal. Flintstones vitamins would go well with the pebbles. I see what you did there. I see that. That actually would have been a more clever joke than what I had. Well done. Cheers to you for that one. That's really good. Now, stick around to the end. I want to do a little comparison. I do have another Amburana finished bourbon that I'd love to compare this to. Again, not like in like a which one is better kind of way, but I'm just curious to see how different blenders take the same cask and fuse it with bourbons that are probably from a lot of similar sources. So we're going to save that for the very end, though. But I do want to move on to the next barrel release. This is also a Cask Finish series. This is, hold on. Make sure y'all can see that. This is Tale of Two Islands. So as Steven mentioned in the chat earlier, this is a sequel kind of to another release, which was a rum release. Of course, this one is 5-year-old bourbon, 118.22 proof. So basically, this is, well, first of all, this is distilled in Indiana and Maryland. So no Kentucky bourbon in this one. Maryland, interesting. So I'm wondering, I know Maryland is known for their rye, so there might be some rye whiskey in here. But we'll find out. I'm not going to predict that yet. But yeah, so back in 2018, they produced the legendary Tale of Two Islands rum. It was a Jamaican rum matured in peated Islay single malt barrels. So take the funkiness of Jamaican rum, mix it with Islay single malt, and you got a really interesting concoction there. Have not had that one. Steven said he's had it. He loved it. I would be very, very interested to try that one. Jamaican rum for me is a little hit or miss. Not my favorite flavor profile, but love experimentation here. But yeah, let's see if we have some more info on the whiskey that's part of this. Oh, it's a Maryland bourbon. Okay, interesting. I don't think I've had a Maryland bourbon. Have you guys? Is there a bourbon distillery in Maryland that I'm not thinking of? But this is a blend of Indiana and Maryland. So Indiana is 5, 6, and 9-year-old bourbon. Maryland is 5 and 6-year-old bourbon. So similar age blend of what we had before. However, this one's a little bit lower corn and a little bit higher rye. So we're dealing with 73% corn, 23% rye, and 4% malted barley. So like I said, it's the sequel of the Tale of Two Islands rum, which they used their batch 1 of their rum and they put it into that Islay single malt cask. So that's pretty cool. Let's go and get this poured though. I'm really excited to see how this one does. A little bit higher proof. So although the flavors of that first one, the Amburana, were so intense that I would have guessed that was higher proof than it was when I look back at the bottle. So, like I said, they used the empty cask that held the Tale of Two Islands rum, and then they used those casks to finish this blend. So they're not starting all over with that Islay cask again. They are using the casks that held that rum that was previously Islay. So basically, it started as an Islay Scotch cask. I mean, technically, it probably started as a bourbon cask if we're going full circle. Bourbon cask, Islay Scotch, Jamaican rum, now bourbon again. So again, full circle. Really curious to see how this will taste. Will I still get those Islay casks on like a second fill? Let's find out. Let's give it a nose. Very subtle. I will say this does smell a little bit older. I mean, again, it's not. It's a similar age. But it has a bit of, like, I was going to say smokiness to it. Not quite in a peaty kind of way, but it has a little bit more of a like a more heavily charred barrel note to it. Not super sweet. The other one was way sweeter. Yeah, that's definitely, I gotta say, a more complex nose. The Amburana was very, very sweet. This one's just kind of smoky, definitely oaky. That's what would make me think this is an older one. Maybe there's more of that 6 and 9 year old blended in. Yeah, this one definitely just smells like a really nice, like, I don't want to say cedar chest because again, that's always like younger oak smelling. This is more of like a I don't know. That's gonna take some getting used to. Deathless Dogs in the chat. I was just giving you a shout out earlier, talking about how y'all were drinking Amberana as well. I've moved on to the Tale of Two Islands, but really, really enjoyed the Barrel Amberana. Steven said, I'm wondering how much influence is left in there for the Isla. Yeah, me too. I will say, like I said, I had a little bit of this before yesterday, and I didn't really get very much. So I'm curious now that I'm seeing that it's like a kind of second fill kind of thing. Maybe it's a little more subtle. I don't know. By the way, let me know if everything looks and sounds okay. I adjusted my microphone settings, and I just want to make sure video wise, my husband's currently streaming his PS5 in the bedroom. So he's like, let me know if there's any technical issues. So let me know if everything looks good on y'all's end. Yeah, this nose is really confusing me. So I got to give it a taste. Cheers. Oh wow, man! I said the nose was complex, but the palate that's that's going to take several follow-up sips to really digest that. First of all, it doesn't drink as hot, even though it's 118, it's higher proof. It's a lot more mellow of a taste. But it has a definitely it's been influenced by that Jamaican rum. I mean, I can taste it's not funky in the way that Jamaican rum is. There's a little hint of it. It's on the very, very back part of the palate right before finish. You get a hint of that funky banana, not like a banana note on a whiskey. It's completely different. It's a little bit more like a I've heard people describe it as like a motor oil kind of note, or like I've never tried motor oil, but um it's very subtle in the back end. I mean, it's just a little hint of that tropical, like an overripe banana. Now the peated scotch is where I'm having to go back in for another sip. What's up, Tim Tam Slam? You get your hands on an ECBP C923? Not yet, man. I'm looking. I'm looking, but not quite. So if y'all hear about that one, I've heard that it's a bit old. I've heard it's like what, 14 years now, but I have not seen it, nor have I heard if it's coming. So I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out for sure. Thank you, Emily, for the info there. By the way, we'll save that for later. We got time. We got time. We're only 20 minutes in. We're gonna probably wrap up a bit early tonight, but that means more time for our after party for Patreon. So if y'all are curious about that, all the details are in the description below for our movie night and our after party. Always have a great time with this amazing community. So speaking of Patreon, I want to give a shout out to our latest patron, Mark Gale. He joined this month. He is currently a Bourbon Bite, which is my $5 tier, which means he gets access to our monthly movie night. So Mark, if you're watching, thank you so much for following on Patreon, being a supporter of the channel. Of course, y'all can do that for as little as $2 a month. But shout out to you, Mark. Cheers. Let's go in for a second sip. Cheers to Mark. Yeah. I'm getting a little bit more of the Jamaican now that I've kind of acclimated my palate to what the whiskey itself tastes like. This doesn't drink like a rum. Don't get confused and don't get worried. It definitely drinks like a bourbon. A lot of oak, a little bit sweeter on the palate than on the nose. A little bit of that overripe banana funk from the rum. I'll be honest, I'm not getting much of the Islay cask. It's very, very light if it's there. It does maybe contribute a little bit of smokiness to it. Like I said on the nose, it was very smoky compared to what I was used to. But no, I'm not getting any peaty quality. It's a very smoky, like a subtle smoke, like a whisper of smoke, like someone has a campfire on the other side of the lake. It's kind of what it's giving on the palate. But that rum influence is there. The Islay a little bit gets a little bit lost to me. Scott Moody's in the chat. Cheers to you, Scott, and Coin Sense and Nonsense. Good to see you again. Glad to see you in the chat. Yeah. This Tale of Two Islands. I'm curious. I know, Steven, you said you had the original rum. Did the rum have a really strong Islay influence, or was it more subtle? I'm curious your experience with this one. If you remember, they came out in 2018, but to me, the Islay is so subtle. The rum is even like it's not as subtle, but it's also a little subtle. I kind of wanted it to be a little more like dominant on the palate, especially with something called a Tale of Two Islands. Like, what a cool name! It's good. I mean, it's a solid release. I think the price on these. Let's see. Do we have any info? Do we have anything on pricing? I don't know if we have any info on that. They describe it as an old-fashioned donut and coconut macaron. Okay, do get a little bit of coconut there for sure. Not quite donutty though. Maybe like the funky yeasty kind of donut, but yeah, I don't have any info on pricing, so I'm not sure how much these go for. But Steven said there was more Islay influence, especially on the finish of the rum. Yeah, it's way more subtle. I mean, again, like we predicted, right? It's a used barrel, so maybe lost a little bit of that influence, but it still takes on a lot from the rum itself. I'm reading their tasting notes. Old fashioned donut. That's what they say. I don't like reading tasting notes very often, but that one I was looking for the price and that stuck out to me. I'm like, we're talking about like an old fashioned flavor donut or like an old fashioned style donut. I don't know, but definitely a little more on the coconut side of things. Funky Donuts. That's a name right there. Sounds like a barrel pick. Funky Donuts. Jeffrey Wack and Major Zero in the chat. Hello, good to see y'all. Thanks for stopping in. Major Zero, thank you for subscribing recently. I know you came over from Whiskey Wisdom's channel. Yeah, so good to see so many great folks. Yeah, okay. So I've tried both of these. Personally, let me go back to the Amburana because that one really surprised me with how well that achieved that flavor profile. And the nose has just gotten better. I mean, that is cinnamon sugar. We're talking donuts. This is cinnamon sugar glazed donut, or not glazed, but like powdered donuts. Mm. Yeah, for me, the winner's got to be the Amburana. It's creamy. The finish is long. It drinks hotter, but like that's a good thing for me. It has more character, whereas I feel like the Tale of Two Islands was more complex. This though is more, like I said, not quite a breakfast bourbon, but a dessert bourbon. This one is definitely one I would like to go to after a meal. Now I'm gonna add some water to each of these. I'm gonna add about 5 drops. I only have a little bit left in the glass, so they did recommend trying some water with the Tale of Two Islands. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Let's see maybe if it changes things up a bit. Like I said, just 5 drops because I have very little in the glass, like very little left. But let's let this sit for a minute. Matt says I tried Jefferson's Tropics for the first time tonight. Has a green olive note on it. I wanted to say that they claimed it. I see what they claimed. They said it was cherry. Either I have COVID or a bad bottle. Green olive. Oh wow, like a briny kind of note. That's interesting. I was gonna say for something different, but it's been more vegetal. It's not been like olive, like brine. But that's interesting. I'd be very curious. Jefferson's is so like I don't know. I had their wood finish experiment from several years ago, and I was surprised by how much their whiskey just serves as like a catalyst for flavors. They really can like take something that's not super complex and just like change it so much with the wood. That's one thing that I do think they have going for them. But yeah, they do some really funky stuff. All right, so let's try the Tale of Two Islands with some water added. By the way, if y'all are enjoying the stream, please hit the thumbs up button. I know we have a little bit of a smaller crowd tonight, but I figured this is a new release not many people know about. Maybe people will find this review useful in the future. So if you're in the future, hey, leave a comment below which one you're drinking or which one's your favorite if you've had both. It's always tough with like new releases that aren't as like out there in the press, which is kind of why they send me these samples for review, right? Also, I forgot to give a shout out. Thank you to Barrell Craft Spirits for sending these for review. Maybe not a lot of people are talking about them yet, but maybe they will. So I will say that Amburana is something to talk about. But let's give the Tale of Two Islands a second chance. Thank you, Donnie. Oddly enough, adding water brings out the smokiness even more on the Tale of Two Islands. It still has the same level of like that kind of little bit of funk, a little bit of coconutty banana note, but It's way smokier with the water. That's weird. I've never had that happen where like a note like smoke comes out more with water. Let's see what did they say that happens when you add water? It says it brings out more of the fruitiness, honeycomb, black licorice. They say it brings out more fruit, but to me, that splash of water brought out more smoke. Again, not like a peaty, like Lefroy Ardbeg smoke. Just a subtle smoke, but it's way more dominant with water. Oh, thank you so much, Matt. Thumbs up. And Clifton drinks Bland or Clifton drinks Blanton's. I do have a bottle. The only no, I have. Okay, so I went wild when I moved out here to California. I went to a grocery store, like one of the first trips to the grocery store out moving out here back in 2018, and they just had like 6 bottles of Blanton's, and like they had more than that. They had like 8 bottles, but at the grocery store out here, you buy 6 of them, you get a 10% discount, and they were like $60 each. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy all 6. So I still have some of those. I don't drink it very often. I usually bring it out for people that might be new to whiskey, but I do have like 2 of those left, and then I have a store pick that I grabbed from a local store. So I do have Blanton's. You know, nothing, no shame on Blanton's. Not my favorite, but it's a cool bottle to bring out and share with friends, and especially store picks. They can be really good. So, but also I'll drink some Blanton's if y'all want to. But I appreciate the thumbs up call out. Love the smoke. Obligatory. Y'all, I'm from South Carolina. I don't know how to pronounce things. Thank you, Tony. It's so weird to hear how grocery stores have bottles of other states. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a hunt. It literally was a literally grocery store trip. Yeah, let's go ahead and go back and try how the Amburana tastes with the water. I'm curious if because like this one was already a strong flavor up front. Curious if the water maybe mellowed it out a bit. That's my guess. I don't know for sure. That's what I thought about the other one, but it obviously didn't happen. It calmed it down a little bit. I said it drank hot earlier. This makes it way more approachable. If you want that sweet sugar cinnamon flavor, but not the bite, try adding some water or even an ice cube with this one. This one would stand up really well to ice. The Tale of Two Islands, maybe not as much. I think the water actually kind of like, it did bring out the smokiness, but it did tame it a little too much. This one, though, I think it tamed it just right. I think actually, I prefer to drink this without water, but that's because I like those really like punch you in the throat taste flavor notes. But if you are looking for something a little more simple, sweet, breakfasty, try that with some water, the Amburana. It's really good. Overall, these are both really good. I wish I knew the price point on these. I would guess if it's anything like any of the other barrel stuff, they're around $90. I think that's fair. I think I would prefer to pay that for the Amburana because I think it's such a unique cask, and I think it's a fun one. It's sweet. It's very different from other bourbons I've had. But they're both solid. They're in line with Barrell's quality. They definitely don't feel like misses. I love that they don't have Tennessee in them. But yeah, both great bottles. I'm curious to hear if you guys try these. Come out to this video, leave a comment, let me know what you think. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the barrels. So we're halfway through. Want to do something a little controversial? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Another brand which is very near and dear to my heart, just as well as Barrell. Both of these are. I mean, we're talking like master blenders. This brand and Barrell are hand in hand to me. No bias. They're both really, really good. But there's another brand that's done something very, very similar. I actually had their master blender on the channel very recently. If you know, you know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to pull that. But another brand that does blending, and they also source whiskey from all over, is Doc Swenson's. So this is the Bossa Nova. I reviewed this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is a straight bourbon whiskey finished in Amburana cask. Sounds familiar, right? Now, of course, not giving them initial credit. I think everyone's kind of experimenting with that now. But this one is, let's see if they say, this is a part of their exploratory cask series. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where this is sourced from. Most of their stuff I know for sure is from Indiana. I don't know if it's all, they're also blending with other, it's not just Indiana bourbon as far as I'm aware. But this one is 112.8 proof, so a little bit lower proof. Yeah, I probably told you where it was from when I actually did the review, but I don't have that info on me. I'm just going to try it right now. So again, I said controversial because it's like, are they competitors? I don't know, maybe. But in the bourbon world, I feel like, I like to think at least that everyone just loves everyone and they all just get along, and maybe they share like, oh, we did this finish. It was really cool. You should try it. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I did want to try a little bit of a side by side. I know, and I feel kind of bad about it. But not only that, I have something similar to the Tale of Two Islands. I have the Smoke on Water from Doc Swinson's, which is an Islay cask finished rye. Now, this is a rye whiskey, so it's going to be a little bit different, but it does have that Islay cask with an American whiskey. So we got to do it. We got to do a little comparison here. It's only fair. Yeah. This actually, oh no, I've already done that. I was gonna say I have a Patreon tier where I send my bourbon terabytes, which is the $50 tier. I send them a flight, and sometimes it's blind, sometimes it's just some of the things I've been enjoying lately. I might hold some of these back. Maybe later in the year, do a blind. So I'll do like the same finish but different brands. That could be fun. Tony, if you're watching this, or not Tony, sorry, Todd. Also, hi Tony. But no, Todd, if you're watching this, let me know if there's something you're interested in. I could do it blind. That could be a fun blind. Well, maybe I'll do it for myself. We'll see. But we're gonna do a little taste test first. Just getting caught up in the chat. Dave in the chat. What's up, Dave? Good to see you. I think it might be first time here. If not, I'm sorry. I'm really bad about names. So, but if it's your first time, welcome. Tony Bag of Donuts with the super chat. Super chat does whatever a super chat does. I caught on as I was reading. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate the support here on the channel. You've been a great supporter both on Patreon and super chat. So thank you. This one goes out to you, Tony. I'm going to try the Bossa Nova from Doc Swinson's. Well, let me nose it first. I was gonna try in this sip. Let me nose it. Still the cinnamon. A lot more cinnamon than cinnamon sugar. The barrel was sweet. This is more like spicy. Like not just cinnamon. There's like some nutmeg. Yeah, that one's a lot more like you're in like a spice, not like a spice market, like a savory market, but like there's a lot more than cinnamon, a lot more drier spices in there. Let's give that a try. Cheers. And thank you again, Tony. So, like I said, it's different spices. This one definitely leans into like I was saying nutmeg earlier, but I almost want to say, have y'all ever had an old fashioned where they put the cloves into the orange, like the orange slice, and then they like ignite them a bit, and they put that into the old fashioned? This has a clove note. Still the cinnamon. I mean, there's still that cinnamon sugar note that is, I mean, I feel like, not to say I'm like super skilled at pulling out tasting notes, but I feel like I'm getting what Amburana oak is nowadays. I think that has a such a unique characteristic. Yes, it might read more cinnamon and might read more sugar depending on the bourbon that it's the finish, but that's a very distinct note. One of the most distinct notes in a finish I've had ever. So that's crazy. I'm trying two different whiskeys from two different brands. They both have that distinct note. This one's, again, a little bit drier, the Doc Swinson's. It tastes more like, what is the age on the Doc Swinson's? Let me see. They don't say, but I think it's around 5 or 6 years old, like most of their releases are. I will say that one to me, first of all, I think it's more affordable than Barrell. To me, that one isn't as rich and robust as the Barrell is. Now, again, Barrell is doing a lot more blending, I think. I think Barrell is more of a, I don't want to say there's more Kentucky in it than Indiana, but I know Doc Swinson's does have a lot of Indiana influence. I think the Kentucky bourbon this is just a guess, totally wild guess. I think the Kentucky bourbon in the Barrell might be doing a little bit of work there, giving it a bit of more of a richness, a creaminess. This one does feel a little drier, a little less of a finish, but both of these are incredible. I may have just found my favorite cask finish, Amburana. Who would have known? This is like new to me, but like both of these whiskeys are incredible. I would buy both of them. But just side by side, I just want to do a little comparison. I think Barrell, for me personally, edges a bit ahead on this one. But again, if you see either of them, give them a try. Guys, sorry if y'all hear the dogs out there. They are going crazy. They're not my dogs, but there's dogs in my apartment complex that are like going a bit crazy tonight. So I apologize if y'all hear them. Barrel batched into 35. Is that the one that I have? Is that the new one? Oh yeah, I reviewed this a couple weeks ago, so I have this as well. If y'all missed that review, check out the stream from 2 weeks back. I think it was. Actually, it was 3 weeks because I took a week off. So check out that. I was really impressed by it too. All right, now time to try the Doc Swinson's Smoke on Water. Like I said, this is a rye whiskey finished in peated Scotch quarter casks. So it's not got the rum influence like the other one does. This one is just straight up rye finished in peated Scotch. Y'all know I love this. This actually was one of my top whiskeys of last year. And on the nose, that smokiness is so much more prevalent than the Tale of Two Islands bourbon. Now, I've always said that rye whiskey takes on more of a finish than a bourbon, but just on the nose alone, like this one is screaming with that Islay cask. So let's go give it a try. Cheers. Oh yeah, earthy. The weird thing is this gives me a note. This is gonna sound weird, but it kind of tastes like a zoo, but not like animal poop or like animals, but like earthy terrain. Like you're walking into a natural habitat of an animal. It's got that oak. It's got the mossiness to it. I mean, like mossy is like a great descriptor of this one. This one is, again, one of my favorite whiskeys of all time. It is such a rich, flavorful pour. I mean, this one, if y'all see this one and you're like at least a little bit interested in like a smoky Scotch, give it a try. It's so different. It's a rye whiskey, but like has that influence. I mean, whereas we felt like the barrel was like a second fill with the Scotch characteristic, this is first fill. This is peaty, but not like the whiskey itself is peated. It's just like a essence of peat that's just, it's lovely. I mean, this is really unique. One of my favorite Doc Swinson's expressions ever. They did do a funky drummer, which was a was a rum finish. So I don't have that one. I would have done a comparison or maybe even a blending some funky drummer and some smoke on water. I would have got a little bit closer to the barrel, but this on its own is just fantastic. One of my favorite pours. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the barrel beats them out a little bit on the Amburana, but when you're looking for like that Islay cask, that unique character, smoke on water, it just knocks it out of the park. So they're both, I mean, I said at the beginning, Barrell and Doc Swinson's are my favorite blenders when it comes to blended, experimenting, exploratory casks. I have not seen anything comparable in the world of American whiskey, or at least bourbon and rye. These two just are so good. So shout out to those folks, of course, Jesse Parker at Doc Swinson's and the team over at Barrell Craft Spirits. Y'all have just done an exceptional job with these. I'm just in a happy place right now. I love finished whiskey. I know it's controversial. Some people want their whiskey pure. Some of them want like no finishing. But to me, you can take, I don't want to say mediocre whiskey. You can take good whiskey and make a great whiskey from it as a source. That's my opinion on it. I know there's different opinions, but yeah, I think finishing is so unique. As long as you're transparent about it and you're not just like trying to hide it and like if you just called this barrel bourbon and you didn't put that it was Amburana cask, I'd be very confused. But if you're transparent and you're excited about your casks, you're a winner in my book. So that does it for tonight's stream. I know it's a little bit early, but I wanted to be a little concise tonight. I want to do something just like I was only reviewing two, doing a couple bonus ones, but yeah. If y'all get a chance to try this again, come back, leave a comment, let me know what you think. We're gonna head over to Patreon or Discord to do our after party. For those that you don't know, Discord is open to everyone. The link is down below. You can go to my link tree. There's a link to it at the bottom. But if you are a patron, you get access to some VIP rooms, like our VIP lounge, our monthly movie night at the $5 tier, our after party hangout at the $10 tier, which is the one we're going to right now. Again, thank you to all of my patrons, especially the newest one, Mark Gale. Thank you again for being the latest patron. I'll see y'all next week. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I actually just, we asked earlier about like a Heaven Hill sample of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923. I did just get a shipping notification. It's not getting here till next week, but I don't know what it is. It just says Heaven Hill. So there's a chance I might do my favorite stream of the year or my second. No, it's my favorite. No, second. Favorite stream of the year is my top whiskey of the year. Second favorite is my blind flight of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, A batch, B batch, and C batch. So if you want to see that one, subscribe, hit the bell button. Make sure to click all notifications so you'll be notified every time I go live. And I'll see you next week. I'm hinting towards this, and I don't know for sure if it's that. So don't kill me. Don't kill me if my next stream's not Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. But there's a good chance. There's a good chance that's what the C is, or the samples are. I went too far with the C. I ruined it. Ruined it. No one cares anymore. All right. Emily says grab some red Solo cups. I assume she means water. Cheers to y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. We're going to go do our after party hangout. But until next time, this has been Bourbon Bites, whiskey reviews with an 80s twist. I'm Clifton. Cheers, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.